Welcome to my channel. I want to talk about innocent people being convicted of crimes they did not commit. But before I do that, I have to thank every one of you that comes to my channel and views my videos. Every one of you that likes them, that comments on them, and that shares them. And I especially have to thank all of you who have subscribed to my channel. I'm amazed by the growth, and I'm just so pleased that there are people that want to hear what I have to say and that have subscribed so that they can hear it all the time. I want to thank each and every one of you. This story came across my desk, and it prompted me to create this video because there's a lot more behind the scenes of this story than what you'll see in the story itself. This guy was convicted of a crime and spent 35 years in jail for a crime he did not commit. Okay? He was wrongly convicted of assaulting an 11-year-old girl in 1988. 1988. And he went to prison for it. And he was exonerated based on DNA evidence. Okay? So now he's finally getting out. But he's 65 years old. His life has been ruined. He has no chance at a career. He has no chance at a life, at having family, having a wife, having children. All of that was taken away from him, and he's innocent. The authorities who landed on him as a suspect in the case leaned on the testimony of an off-duty officer who claimed he was spotted in the neighborhood. Well, lots of people are in neighborhoods. That doesn't mean they're guilty of anything. The Cooley Law School Innocence Project said the authorities have claimed that Wright had confessed to the crime, even though there was no recorded evidence or signed confession. Additionally, the victim was never asked to identify Wright. Wright ultimately pleaded no contest to the charges and was subsequently sentenced to 25 to 30 years in prison. When he tried to withdraw his plea during the sentencing, it was denied. Now you think about this. He's, 20, 30 years old? He's being faced with life in prison. He's been accused of a crime he didn't commit. And he doesn't see any way out, and so he says, okay, I'll plead no contest. Probably his lawyer talked him into it. He was probably assigned a court-appointed lawyer, and then when he changed his mind and tried to withdraw his plea, the judge said, nope, you can't do that. He became eligible for parole in 2008, and he would have been released at that time if he had agreed to take sex offender therapy classes. But he refused to do that because he said, I didn't do the crime. I'm not taking a therapy class. He cost himself a number of years just standing on principle. Not a lot of guys would do that. When they swabbed his mouth last summer for DNA testing, he reportedly knew he would be cleared. I spent the last couple months in prison with a smile on my face. Everyone thought I had something up my sleeve. Yeah, what he had was he knew he was innocent. So this is an isolated story, but it's a much bigger story than that. This happens all the time, all over the country, everywhere. Police fixate on a person of interest that they think might have committed the crime, and then they start trying to find evidence to prove he committed the crime. Many times they don't find a lot of good evidence. All they find is circumstantial evidence. But they know that's enough. The attorneys will take the case. And not one attorney sits and says, What proof do you have that this guy did it? I understand a girl was assaulted and you want to find justice for her. But what proof do you have that this guy did it? Can you place him at the scene? Do you have any eyewitnesses? Do you have anything that proves he did it? And there's something else much more devious going on behind the scenes in American justice. Many years ago, the Supreme Court tried a case that's known as the Brady Law. It's now known as the Brady Law. And that is that prosecutors cannot withhold potentially exculpatory evidence from the defense. Now, I don't know if that applies in this case, but I've done a lot of research on a lot of cases, and I can tell you, I could list them. I could probably go through 20 or 30 cases that I've looked at personally where the prosecutors withheld evidence that was vital to the individual's defense, and they later got out when it was discovered. The system of justice that we have in America is a good system, but it needs some adjustments. We need to be able to find prosecutors liable, guilty of a crime when they withhold evidence. We need to find a way in our justice system so that the judges, who are also lawyers, don't lean on the side of the prosecuting attorneys, but lean on the side of the truth. Judges need to be questioning attorneys. What other evidence do you have than this? Something needs to happen because our justice system isn't working like it should. And of course, now we have all this corruption going on in Washington where they don't even care about justice. They just care about getting people put in prison for crimes they didn't commit because they're on the wrong side of the political scene. But the next time that you hear someone's been arrested and been convicted of a crime, just ask yourself this one question. What evidence did they have to prove he was guilty? Did they find him at the scene? Did they find his semen at the scene? Did they find his fingerprints? Did they find his DNA at the scene? Were they able to place him at the scene? Do they have any evidence at all other than circumstantial evidence? Now, I'm at the point in my life now where I can't even serve on a jury anymore. They won't take me because I'm too old. But if you are eligible for jury duty, I hope that you'll go and you'll serve. And I hope that you'll listen carefully to what's said and not be swayed by the emotional arguments that the attorneys make, but be swayed by the facts. And I have personally been on juries where people have tried to pressure jurors to change their vote to guilty just so they could get out of the room. They wanted to go home. I actually changed my vote on one case from guilty to not guilty because there were two girls that were voting not guilty and the other jurors were browbeating them, trying to get them to change their mind. And I raised my hand. I said, I'm changing my vote to not guilty. And they said, what? And I said, and you won't be able to change my mind. If you want to convince these girls this guy is guilty, you need to convince them with the facts, not by browbeating them, because if you browbeat them, I will not vote guilty. It happens all the time, folks. Jurors want to take shortcuts. Prosecutors want to get convictions. And innocent people end up going to prison for essentially their entire life. It's not right. It needs to be fixed. And I hope that someone can come up with an idea, a plan, some sort of a way to solve the problem, because the adversarial system that we have is the right system, but it's not being used correctly because prosecuting attorneys are often not as ethical as they should be. I'm not going to say every one. There are good prosecutors all over the country, but there are also prosecutors who will cut corners, who will not be ethical. All they want is convictions, and they'll do anything they can to get a conviction, and they don't care if they put innocent people in prison. And part of the reason they don't care is because there are no consequences when they're proven to have put an innocent person in prison. In this case, this guy served 35 years. The prosecutor that tried his case is probably dead. So he has no recourse other than what he's doing, which is he's suing the police department for $100 million. It needs to change. It really does need to change. We need some kind of an adjustment to the justice system so that it's more fair, so that it's more open, and that personally, I think that the prosecuting attorneys should have to turn over all the evidence that they have to the defense in a timely manner so that the defense has time to go through the evidence and prepare for the case. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, I pray that you, my viewers, will live an abundant life, that you'll live a long life, and that you'll be healthy, and that God will keep you safe from harm. And I pray that you will be anxious for nothing, but in all things, through prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, you'll make your requests known to God. And the peace that passes all understanding will keep your heart and mind in Christ Jesus. This is the Vietnam Era Vet, out.